all season and shut down the Niners in a 31-7 NFC Championship win. And now they're on to the Super Bowl and will be tasked with slowing down Patrick Mahomes and company. The Eagles defense has arguably been the best in the entire league this season, finishing best in the league in pass rush win rate, sack percentage, and total sacks with 78, the third most all time since team sacks began being tracked. That was in 1963. Speaking of Philadelphia, Herman Edwards, Coach.
What up, Coach?
I talked a lot of trash.
How are we doing?
Coach, I talked a lot of trash before the Giants-Eagles game, and I was wrong, and you were right, very right. So I just want to get that out the way.
I was right one time. A couple things. You look lovely. I heard those guys picking at you this morning. You look lovely.
Thanks.
And I got a question for Stephen A. Stephen A., I have your book, so are you going to sign it for me? I want a personal autograph on your book. I know you're enthralled with Tom Brady because he wanted to meet you, but I just want to make sure you're going to autograph my book. Okay, I'm good.
Well, I will say this,
right.
Me being a bestseller and all, I got to have my people call your people, and, we'll work it out. You know what I'm saying? I get it.
Stephen A., let me tell the audience that you're the bestseller. Let me do that for you. You don't need to remind us.
Molly. It's called having fun, Molly. That's what it is. That's what it is. You know
All
what I'm
right.
saying? By the way, you could have brought me some soup, too, but that's a different subject for another day.
You're in L.A.
Figure it out.
With the whole staff.
You could have had it delivered to me. You could have had it delivered to me. You know what's here. You know the people here. You could have
a whole
delivered
You have a whole
you could have
staff.
Have it delivered. You could have had it delivered. She knows where I'm at.
Stephen A. travels in packs, right? It's not just Stephen A.
He could have just called Oprah, used their G650, and had it brought to you then. Why don't you just do that?
I didn't think about that. We got to talk about that. Let's move on. Good idea, Keyshawn. Good idea. Let's
Oh, have mercy.
Oh, thanks, Russ. Got a spoon now. All right. Will the Chiefs' O-line slow down the Eagles' pass rush, Key?
I think so. I think when you look at it, you got to first understand the blocking protection and the scheme up front. They're not going to allow a tight end singled up on those guys and just allow them to tee off on them. Hassan Reddick is not going to just tee off on Patrick Mahomes because they made a mistake in protection. They're going to use tight ends and chips and tackles, things of that nature, no matter what side of the ball he lines up on. But when you look at it, the Chiefs don't give up a crazy amount of sacks. The San Francisco 49ers made an egregious mistake, by allowing some tight ends in non-protections on the left side of the line as well as on the right side to just let guys come scot-free. You're not going to have that happen to Patrick Mahomes. They're smart enough to know that he's got to get the ball out fast enough. They know that they got to chip. They got to double protect. They got to slide protections, all of those sort of things. So I don't see, no matter what historical pass rush the Eagles have put out front, I don't see where Andy Reid and Eric Bieniemy and the Chiefs' offensive line are going to let the protections break down to a point that Patrick Mahomes is running all around for his life. When we saw him in the Super Bowl the last time against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, he had no offensive line. That's not the case right now today.
Go ahead, Coach.
Key, you bring up some great points. I will tell you this, the little bit I know, and I don't know a lot, obviously, but I was actually at the 49er Kansas City game when they came out here in San Francisco and they beat the 49ers handily. And you think about the 49ers, they're built similar to the Eagles. They got a great front four. They can rush the quarterback. And I think the way you go about doing your business, Key, and you know this, the key is Kelsey and McKinnon. The weakness of the Eagles' defense is their linebackers. And when you think about Kelsey, he's a former quarterback. He knows how to read coverage. They're going to take him and move him in the slot some and move him around. Mahomes will throw the ball on the perimeter. He'll throw it on the perimeter, throw it over the middle to Kelsey. And when you think about it, you want to run a defense, right? You want the defensive linemen to run. Along with that is when they make first downs, they won't huddle, Key. They'll continue to move the ball. So you can't substitute those defensive linemen. That is going to be the plan of the Kansas City Chiefs. How can I keep these defensive linemen on the field? You got to have quick throws on the perimeter. You got to move Kelsey, move him in the slot, let him go against those two linebackers they have because they're not good cover guys, and continue to make first downs. All you got to do is throw a 5-yard pass. A 5-yard pass ends up being what? 2nd and 3 or less. If you're staying 2nd and 3 or less, You don't have a pass rush because the ball is coming out so fast. You're going to be in 3rd and 2 or less. That is going to be the game plan of the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, but the question that I bring into play, and it's like I don't have a definitive position because you guys know so much more than me on the subject, but what I would tell you is this. When I think about Patrick Mahomes, I watch him, Coach, you're absolutely right. If you're getting the ball out inside of 3 seconds, right, this is a different ball game. But the reality of the situation is far more often than not, Patrick Mahomes does not do that because he's looking to make plays. He's a mercurial talent that has an incredible belief in himself and in his teammates. And when you give Travis Kelce an extra second, when you gave Marquez Valdez-Scantling an extra second or so, look what happened. And when you look at it from that perspective, there was plenty of times that we saw the Cincinnati Bengals having him run for his life and they were in his face, okay? And so you got to take that into consideration because he's going to look to make plays. And in order to do that, the likelihood is that he's not going to wait or rather get rid of the ball inside of 3 seconds on a bevy of occasions. He's just not going to do that. He's going to try to extend plays. He's going to try to make plays, and that's going to give Fletcher Cox and the rest of the crew an opportunity to get at him. Let's also keep this in mind. Last we saw the Kansas City Chiefs in a Super Bowl. We saw them in that Super Bowl against Tampa Bay. What did we lament? The fact that Patrick Mahomes was running for his damn life the entire game. The Philadelphia Eagles know what it takes. When we talk about the great, we just started off the show, Keyshawn, talking about the great Tom Brady. Well, when he lost those 2 Super Bowls to the New York Giants, why he lose? Because that front 4 got at him. That's why. Now, obviously, Patrick Mahomes can scramble a little bit better, a lot better, actually, than Tom Brady. And we get all of that. We understand that. But it doesn't negate the fact that if you apply the pressure and he's running and he's uncomfortable, that's what has to be your game plan. You can't just sit up there and man up and back up in the coverage and give Patrick Mahomes any kind of time. Their whole strategy for success on the defensive side of the ball is going to be predicated on getting in the face of Patrick Mahomes. So I understand what y'all are saying. Don't get me wrong. I'm just simply saying that I don't think that Patrick Mahomes is going to comply. I think he believes in his offensive line this year compared to what he did 2 or 3 years ago. I think he's going to sit up there and he's going to take a little bit more time on a lot of occasions to throw that football. And I think that's going to give the Eagles pass rush an opportunity to get to him. That's just what I suspect.
You do understand in that Super Bowl against Tampa Bay, his protection was Stephen A. Smith, Herm Edwards, and Keyshawn Johnson.
He had no help.
So he's going to be running for his life against a defense that had hit his stride under Todd Bowles. This is a totally different offensive line. This offensive line is actually much better. This is actually one of the best offensive lines he's had in the 5 years that he's been under Andy Reid.
Was Cincinnati able to get at him a little bit? But they in his face.
But here's what I'm going to tell you about that. It's all about the game planning. Remember what Herm said, San Francisco is built just like Philadelphia to a degree. They got edge rushers. They got people that can push the pocket. They got linebackers that can go sideline to sideline and downhill all at the same time. So your game plan is going to predicate and dictate what you do on the offensive side of the ball. You didn't need to do that against Cincinnati. You didn't need to go into the Cincinnati game saying, I need to do quick game. I need to get the ball out quick. And I understand you're most like all of us, we're so enamored with the off-schedule plays that we've seen in his career. But when he needs to, he sits in the pocket. When he needs to, he delivers the football very quickly and on time in rhythm. Everything is not Harlem Globetrotter basketball on the football field. It's just not. Those are splash plays that we see on First Take, we see on Sports Center. But let's look at some of the stuff that he does do like the traditional quarterbacks.
Well, he can play from the pocket. We saw that this week. He was injured, right? And this is why he's the MVP. I mean, the wounded athlete is something to deal with. We've seen Michael Jordan do it. We saw Willis Reed do it. I'm going basketball now for Stephen A. because, he's an expert at that as well. Right. But think about this. He played from the pocket. Now, and you make a great point, Stephen A. He likes to move around. He loves to create the off-schedule play. That could get him in trouble. And he knows that. He's got to be very particular when he moves around against this defense that the Eagles have.
All right, we'll leave it there. Philly, a 1.5-point favorite. Patrick Mahomes has never been an